All right, we're here at my tiny worm bin, and the last time we were in here, we checked on the lemon versus lime, and we'll go ahead and update that too. But one of the things I want you to notice is that I took the plastic off. It was totally over the top, and I did that about 2 days in because this bin was a little bit over moist, and we just wanted to let it dry out again. So I came in and checked on it, and you can see it gathered a lot of moisture there. So I just lifted that up, and we're going to see how the bin is doing here. So this tiny bin has been running for about 3.5 months, and I have run it 4 times, and each time it takes about 5 months till I get to the point where I harvest it and get all the castings out. So we are about 6 weeks out, and I want to show you some of the steps that I'm going to take when the bin is about this far out. But first, let's go ahead and dig and see how they did with that last feeding zone. Now, we put in some apple cores, some cauliflower, broccoli, some strawberries, a lettuce stalk, and some cherry tomatoes. I just want to see how they did with it after 12 days. We'll also see if there's any more of that lemon or lime. We're on the lime side, and I think I'm right about where they were. And this might be a little piece of it, I think. So it looks like it is mostly gone, and I actually smell a little citrusy flavor, or smell, I should say. A little bit more of it right here. So definitely breaking it apart and tearing through it for sure. So I guess that would be 24 days since we put a whole half of a lime in here. And this right here looks to me like some broccoli. I think we did put in some broccoli stalks, and they eat out the center, and what's left is kind of the outer edge, which is very fibrous. And you see right there, the worms love to go in and out of the fibers. So let's go through the middle, see if there's anything left in there of that feeding. Just seeing a little bit of, I think this is a strawberry top. I really like strawberry tops because they are a combination of a fast and a slow food. And this right here is the slow portion of it, which is the leafy part, and the red part is the fast part. So under here is the lemon, and I don't expect to find much at all because it was pretty far gone last time. And this is just a little bit of a cherry tomato. We'll come back to that. But let's look in here and see. Yep, nope, no sign whatsoever of that lemon. And let me dig in a little bit more just to see if I am in the right spot. And nope. What I am seeing is a lot of, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a lot of grounds of coffee still in here. And I'm just going to take one and kind of squeeze it and show you that it kind of mashes. It's not really firm, so coffee really isn't grit. And there we go, right there. So the worms are still working on that. And that's one of the things I want to talk about is what kind of food you want to feed as you're getting closer to being done or having your harvest. This looks like it is the bottom of an apple core, and they are absolutely enjoying it right there. Lots of worms in there. And this tomato, yep, it has been burst. So I am seeing a lot of mites as I pick up the different foods and stuff. And I think that is just an indicator that the bin is just a little bit more moist than I typically have. And let's look. Yep, lots of great worms, lots of chunky worms, which is fantastic. These are all red wigglers in here. So what we're gonna do is, because we're 6 weeks out, this is really the last time I wanna put any kind of slow food in. So we're gonna go ahead and add some of that in. And this, I think, is some more of that napkin that we put in, again, about 24 days ago. And it just kind of mats down. Another reason why I like to do cardboard versus paper or even napkins. Maybe I could have done a better job of ripping the napkin out. So let's keep digging in and aerating the bin and see how the corners are doing. Typically, I find them to be more moist, and sometimes you'll find more worms down there. Now, the worms really love the moisture up to a point. If it's so moist that the worm bin is getting fermented or has ammonia smells, then obviously the worms aren't going to like that. So aerating does help to add oxygen in any of the areas that might have pockets of fermentation or ammonia growing in them. I'm also seeing a little bit of those potworms, not as much as we found when we had the citrus there. So that is good. Just kind of means that the bin is getting back to a more balanced state than it was before. And potworms are one of those things. They never get bigger than what you see in there, and they die off. After they bloom and take care of whatever food, they go ahead and die off. So nothing really to worry about if you find a few potworms in there. Now, if you have a whole lot of potworms, that probably means you're overfeeding. Really good looking castings in here and good looking worms. All right, so like I said, this bin is about 3.5 months old, 6 more weeks until we harvest it. So if your bin is about 3.5 weeks old, it's about this size and started with 500 worms, your bin should look similar to what we have here. But this right here is going to be the last time that we add any significant amount of shredded cardboard in here. Because what we want to start doing now is thinking about our transition to our harvest and our castings. So I'm going to put some of this old food down here, and then let's add the bedding. So in goes some dried bedding. Earlier in this bin's life, I'd put some damp bedding in. That's because bins typically start out a little bit dry, and then as the bin turns to more castings, and castings absorb the moisture, they tend to hold too much moisture. So this will help dry the bin just a little bit. Now what we have here is mostly slow food. Since we're about 6 weeks out, this is my last opportunity to feed them slow food. So I'm going to add in things like apple cores, which take a little bit longer. We'll put in a couple of banana peels because those take longer. They'll eat the flesh right here, but the banana peel itself takes a little bit longer, and certainly the stalk. In fact, in 6 weeks, this stalk probably won't be gone. But we'll go ahead and give them a couple of those right there. I'm going to add a whole tomato in. It's a bit of a slow food, one because of the skin, but also just the amount that I have right here. And then we'll put in some onion, put in that strawberry top that we talked about. This part is going to be slow food, and then the red fleshy part will be fast food. We've got a carrot, which depending on how many worms, they can eat it real quick or you might see it again. And then this I think is a peach. We'll go ahead and put that in. Then some pepper tops and a little bit of tangerine peels. And I think I'm getting the indication from the executive producer to stop.
A long time ago.
All right, so there we go. I'm just going to kind of mush this down, and we may be seeing some of this feeding next time. We'll be in here about at the 10 to 12 day mark. But after this, the feedings that I do after this are going to be mostly fast food. We're going to have very little bedding, or maybe even just like pieces of cardboard that I can pull out. And I'm actually going to feed them probably every 7 days so that I can get in here and aerate it out so that I can make sure that they are really chomping down on this bedding so that we can get this bin turning towards mostly castings. So next we're going to go ahead and go in with some worm chow, and this is some leftover from our kids cereal worm chow, and it's very colorful, so I may see if I can get some more of this because I really enjoy this. And that was just some more food for them, and here as well is coffee grounds, used coffee grounds, just another way to get some more food in there and get the nutrients from it into my garden. And then finally we'll go in with some pulverized eggshells, which I pulverize in my Magic Bullet blender, and this allows them to have some grit for their gizzards, and again helps me to get some more of the nutrients and calcium into my garden. So I like how the bedding feels in here. It's not too moist, but it is pretty moist, so I think leaving that plastic off is doing us well, and I think this is going to be the last really big feeding that we give them. We started with 500 worms, and I don't know how much we have in here now. I think easily 700 to 800 is a good guess, and every time I harvest this bin I end up counting it. It takes me about 5 months to recover from the last count because it is extremely tedious, but I do like to see how many worms the population can expand to when starting with, a round number like 500, or I think I've started it with 700 once also. But this is a really good DIY bin. I actually started at a county extension class that I took, and they gave us this bin and we drilled holes and put the mesh on it, and then they were supposed to give us somewhere around 200 worms, but I think I got the short end of the deal and got about 50 worms because I was the last one to get worms. But since then I have grown thousands in here, and that was about 2 years ago that we started this thing. So I'm going to put just a little bit of shredded cardboard on top where I wasn't able to bury all the food, just a little bit more. And then we've got this newspaper to put over the top right here like this, and that will help to keep this from getting too much light in it through these holes. And this I'll just store in the side right here. And yeah, here's the lid. This duct tape that we put on here has been going strong for 2 years with, humidity and dryness and all that kind of stuff. So really impressed with how this bin is holding up. And I'm sure you can put together something like this with a bin that you maybe already have in your house, or on the very cheap if you go to a hardware store. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing well. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.